Deep space stretched endlessly around the cargo vessel as it drifted through the void between stars. Maya Torres checked her navigation display for the third time in 10 minutes. The numbers showed they were still on course for the hidden world of New Haven, but something felt wrong. Her fingers drummed against the control panel while she watched the sensor readings flicker with unusual patterns. "David, are you seeing these energy fluctuations?" She called to her communications officer. The young man turned from his station. With worry creased across his forehead, "Yes, Captain. Solar activity is spiking beyond normal levels. The storm front is moving faster than predicted." David's voice carried the tension they all felt. Solar storms in this region could be deadly, especially when carrying the kind of cargo they had aboard. Maya's ship carried medical supplies, weapons, components, and classified technology bound for one of humanity's most important secret installations. For 300 years, humans had been building their hidden empire while the galaxy believed Earth was nothing more than a primitive world struggling with basic space travel. The deception had worked perfectly until now. The solar storm hit them like an invisible wall. Warning lights flashed red across every console as electromagnetic waves washed over their shields. Maya gripped her chair as the ship shuddered under the assault. Through the viewports, space itself seemed to dance with deadly energy. "Shields holding at 60%, reported Tom Walsh from the engineering station. His hands moved quickly. "Over the controls, rerouting power to critical systems. But we're taking a beating out here." Maya knew they had two choices. They could ride out the storm and risk losing their cargo or even their lives, or they could change course toward the nearest safe harbor. The problem was that the nearest safe harbor lay dangerously close to a collective patrol route. The collective was one of the galaxy's major powers, a union of insectoid species that controlled vast territories with their advanced technology and rigid military structure. "Tom, how long until we can jump to hyperspace?" Maya asked, watching the storm intensity readings climb higher. "At least 2 hours, Captain. The storm is interfering with our jump drive." Tom's voice was steady, but Maya could hear the concern. Underneath, the ship lurched violently as another wave of solar energy struck them. Sparks flew from an overloaded console and the lights dimmed momentarily. Maya made her decision. "David, plot a course for the Kepler system. We'll hide in the asteroid field there until this passes." "Captain, that puts us within scanning range of collective ships," David warned. "I know, but we don't have a choice." "Set course immediately." As they changed direction, Maya thought about the cargo they carried and the world they were meant to reach. New Haven was one of dozens of hidden human colonies scattered throughout the galaxy. Each one was carefully concealed behind advanced cloaking technology and false sensor readings that made them appear as nothing more than dead rocks or gas clouds. The human race had learned early that survival meant deception. When the first human explorers ventured beyond Earth's solar system, they discovered a galaxy dominated by ancient civilizations with technology far beyond anything humans possessed. The hegemony controlled the core worlds with their energy weapons and vast fleets. The collective ruled the eastern spiral arm with disciplined efficiency. Smaller powers carved out territories where they could, all of them viewing humans as primitive newcomers barely worth notice. That dismissive attitude had been humanity's greatest advantage. While alien species ignored Earth as a backwater world, human engineers and scientists worked in secret. They captured disabled alien vessels, studied their technology, and slowly built their own versions. They established hidden bases in asteroid fields, hollow moons, and the dark spaces between stars. They recruited the best minds from Earth and trained them in facilities that officially did not exist. Maya herself had grown up on one such hidden world. As a child, she had watched ships arrive with components and materials that would be assembled into humanity's secret fleet. She had learned to speak multiple alien languages while studying their military tactics and technological weaknesses. By the time she earned her captain's rank, she could pilot vessels that matched or exceeded anything the major powers possessed. "Asteroid field in sight," David announced, breaking Maya's thoughts. "I'm reading several large rocks that could provide cover." Take us behind the biggest one you can find, Maya ordered, and shut down all non-essential systems. We wait here until the storm passes. As they maneuvered into position, Maya reviewed what she knew about their cargo. Among the medical supplies were experimental healing devices based on hegemony biotechnology. The weapons components would be assembled into plasma cannons that could penetrate collective armor. Most important were the data cores containing intelligence. Reports from human agents operating throughout the galaxy. Those agents were another part of humanity's secret network. They posed as traders, diplomats, and researchers while gathering information about alien military movements, technological developments, and political situations. Some had spent decades building their cover identities, rising to positions of trust within alien organizations. Their reports allowed human leaders to stay ahead of potential threats and opportunities. The storm continued to rage around them, but their hiding place among the asteroids provided some protection. Maya watched her crew work efficiently at their stations. Each of them had been born into the secret, raised from childhood to understand that humanity's survival depended on remaining hidden until they were strong enough to emerge. "Captain, I'm picking up something on long-range sensors," Tom called out. "Looks like a ship approaching from the direction of the collective patrol route." Maya felt her stomach tighten. Discovery here would mean more than just losing their cargo. It could expose the entire hidden network that humanity had spent centuries building. She moved to the sensor station and studied the readings. "It's a collective cruiser," she confirmed. "Heavy class, probably carrying a full crew complement." The alien ship was still hours away, but its course would bring it close enough to detect them if they remained in position. Maya weighed their options. They could try to slip away during the storm, but that risked catastrophic damage to their ship and cargo. They could stay hidden and hope the collective vessel passed by without conducting detailed scans. Or they could prepare for the possibility of combat, though fighting would certainly expose them to the wider galaxy. As the solar storm raged and the alien cruiser drew closer, Maya realized that 3 centuries of human secrecy might be about to end, in the most unexpected way. The collective cruiser Dominant Will moved through space like a predator searching for prey. Admiral Thane Blackwood stood in the command center watching his tactical displays with 4 compound eyes that missed nothing. His chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the soft blue lighting as he studied the sensor readings from the nearby asteroid field. "Commander, are you detecting any unusual energy signatures in that field?" Thane asked his second-in-command, a younger collective officer named Voss. "Some electromagnetic interference from the solar storm, Admiral." "Nothing that suggests active technology," Voss replied, manipulating the controls with his precise insectoid limbs. Thane nodded but remained suspicious. 3 decades of military service had taught him to trust his instincts, and something about this region of space felt wrong. The collective had been receiving reports of unusual activity in the outer territories, whispers of unknown ships, and unexplained energy readings. Most of his superiors dismissed these reports as sensor ghosts or the wild tales of frightened merchants. But Thane believed otherwise. Hidden among the asteroids, Maya watched the alien cruiser approach with growing anxiety. The collective ship was larger and more heavily armed than anything in her cargo hold, but that was not her primary concern. Discovery would mean the end of everything humanity had built in secret. "David, maintain communication silence," she whispered, though sound carried poorly in the enclosed bridge. "Any transmission could give us away." David nodded from his station, his hands hovering over the controls but not touching them. Around the bridge, the rest of the crew worked in tense silence, monitoring their systems while keeping power output to minimum levels. Every breath seemed too loud, every heartbeat too fast. The solar storm reached its peak intensity just as the collective cruiser entered the asteroid field. Waves of electromagnetic energy washed over both ships, causing instrument readings to fluctuate wildly. Maya watched her displays flicker between normal readings and chaotic static on the Dominant Will. Thane was experiencing similar problems. His sensors showed false contacts appearing and disappearing throughout the asteroid field. The storm made detailed scans impossible, but it also provided perfect cover for anything that might be hiding among the rocks. Admiral, the storm is interfering with our navigation systems, Voss reported. We may need to reduce speed to avoid collision with the larger asteroids. Thane considered their options. Standard procedure would be to wait for the storm to pass before conducting a thorough search of the area. However, if something was hiding in the field, the storm might allow it to escape undetected. He decided to maintain course and rely on his crew's skill to navigate the hazards. The decision proved costly for both ships. As the collective cruiser maneuvered around a massive asteroid, a particularly intense solar flare struck the region. The electromagnetic pulse overloaded sensors on both vessels and sent feedback through their communication systems. David felt his console surge with power as the pulse hit. Warning lights flashed across his station, and he instinctively reached for the emergency shutdown controls. In his haste and panic, his hand struck the wrong switch. Instead of shutting down the communications array, he activated it at full power on an open galactic frequency. Warning, warning, all human vessels in Grid 77 Alpha, David broadcast before realizing his mistake. Solar flare incoming, recommend immediate course correction to avoid radiation exposure. The words left his mouth in perfect galactic standard, the common language used by all spacefaring civilizations for official communications. Maya watched in horror as her communications officer spoke into an open channel that any ship within light years could receive. On the dominant will, every collective officer turned to stare at their communications station. The voice they had just heard was clearly human, but it spoke their language with fluency that should have been impossible. More disturbing still were the technical terms and references to military grid coordinates. Did that transmission come from the asteroid field? Thane demanded. Yes, Admiral, the communications officer replied, checking and rechecking his instruments. The signal originated approximately 2,000 kilometers from our position. Thane felt his mandibles click together in agitation. Humans were supposed to be primitive creatures barely capable of interplanetary travel. Their homeworld was classified as a developing civilization with no significant military or technological capabilities. Yet someone had just broadcast detailed navigational warnings using advanced terminology and perfect pronunciation of galactic standard. Conduct an immediate deep scan of that location, Thane ordered. Use active sensors regardless of the storm interference. Maya realized they had seconds before the collective ship's scanners found them. The solar storm was beginning to weaken, which meant their hiding place would not remain concealed much longer. She had to make a choice between fighting and running, and neither option offered good odds of survival. Tom, can we jump to hyperspace? She asked urgently. Not for another 30 minutes, Captain. The storm is still interfering with our jump drive, Tom replied while working frantically at his station. Then we run on conventional drives. Plot a course out of the system and prepare for maximum acceleration. The cargo ship broke from cover behind the asteroid just as the collective cruiser's active scanners found their hiding place. Thane watched his displays light up with detailed readings of a vessel that should not exist. The energy signature showed advanced propulsion systems, military-grade shielding, and hull composition that matched no known human technology. Impossible, Voss whispered as he studied the readings. This shows human life signs aboard a ship, with hegemony-level technological specifications. Thane's mind raced through the implications. If humans possess technology equal to the major galactic powers, everything the collective believed about them was wrong. Their homeworld might not be the primitive backwater it appeared to be. Their apparent lack of expansion beyond their home system might be deliberate misdirection rather than technological limitation. Pursuit course, Thane ordered, and send an immediate priority message to collective command. Include all sensor readings of that vessel. Maya's ship accelerated away from the asteroid field with the collective cruiser in pursuit. The alien vessel was faster and more maneuverable, but the weakening solar storm still provided some cover. Maya pushed her engines beyond safe limits while David worked to jam the collective ship's communications. I'm trying to block their transmissions, Captain, but their signal is too strong, David reported, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool bridge temperature. Keep trying. If they get word back to their command, this becomes a much bigger problem. Behind them, the dominant will gained ground steadily. Thane watched the human ship's evasive maneuvers with professional appreciation. Whoever was piloting that vessel knew advanced combat techniques and was using them effectively. This was no frightened merchant trying to escape customs inspection. This was a trained military crew operating sophisticated equipment. The chase continued for 20 minutes before Maya's ship finally cleared the storm's interference zone. Tom's hands flew over his controls as he initiated the hyperspace jump sequence. Warning lights flashed as the jump drive powered up, drawing massive amounts of energy from their reactors. "Jump in 15 seconds, Tom announced. Thane realized his quarry was about to escape. He had one chance to learn more about this impossible human vessel before it disappeared into hyperspace. He ordered his weapons officer to fire a low-power scanner pulse that would penetrate the human ship's shields without causing significant damage. The pulse struck Maya's ship just as it entered hyperspace. The interaction between the scanner beam and the jump drive created an unexpected resonance effect that transmitted detailed information about the ship's internal systems back to the collective cruiser. In the few seconds before the human vessel vanished, Thane's computers recorded everything from crew complement to cargo manifest to navigational database. What they found changed everything. The cargo included weapons and technology that matched or exceeded collective capabilities. The navigational database contained coordinates for dozens of star systems with no official human presence. Most shocking of all, the crew files indicated military ranks and training that rivaled the best collective academies. As Thane studied the data, he realized that everything the galaxy knew about humanity was a lie. They were not primitive newcomers struggling with basic spaceflight. They were an advanced civilization that had been hiding their true capabilities while building strength in secret. The question now was how long they had been deceiving the galaxy and what they planned to do with the power they had accumulated in darkness. News of the human vessel's discovery spread through collective command like wildfire through dry grass. Within hours, emergency sessions convened across 3 star systems as military leaders struggled to understand what they had learned. The sensor data from Admiral Thane's encounter painted a picture that challenged everything the galaxy believed about humanity. General Alex Rivera received the alert at her hidden command center deep within an asteroid field the galaxy knew as worthless. Space Rock. The facility had been humanity's primary military coordination hub for over a century, disguised as natural mineral formations while housing some of the most advanced technology in known space. Alex read the intelligence report 3 times before, accepting its implications. "They know," she said aloud to the empty command chamber. Her voice echoed off walls lined with displays showing the locations of human installations throughout the galaxy. Each glowing dot represented years of careful construction and meticulous secrecy, all of it now at risk. The door to her chamber slid open and Colonel Ben Harris entered with urgency written across his weathered face. Ben had served as Alex's intelligence chief for 15 years, managing the network of agents and monitoring stations that kept humanity informed about galactic affairs. "General, we're receiving priority communications from 17 different sectors," Ben reported. "The collective is mobilizing their 3rd and 7th fleets. The hegemony has placed all border units on high alert. Even the smaller powers are asking questions about human activities in their territories." Alex nodded grimly. Maya's accidental transmission had been like throwing a stone into still water. The ripples were spreading outward, and soon every major power in the galaxy would be demanding answers about humanity's true capabilities. "How long before they start putting the pieces together?" Alex asked. "Our analysts estimate 72 hours maximum," Ben replied. "The collective already suspects we have installations in the outer territories. Once they start sharing intelligence with other powers, they'll identify patterns in shipping routes, energy signatures, and communication intercepts. Alex moved to the central display and studied the map of human space. Red indicators showed the locations of major military installations, while blue markers indicated civilian colonies and research facilities. Yellow dots marked supply depots and sensor stations. Together, they formed a network that spanned nearly a quarter of the galaxy. "Initiate Protocol Dawn," Alex ordered. "Send the authorization codes to all sector commanders," then hesitated. Protocol Dawn was humanity's most closely guarded contingency plan, designed for the moment when their secrecy finally ended. Once activated, it could not be reversed. "General, are you certain?" "Once we decloak our installations, there's no going back." "To the old way." "The old way is already over," Alex replied. Maya's transmission saw to that. "Now we have to decide whether we reveal ourselves on our terms or wait for alien fleets to discover us one installation at a time." Alex's fingers moved across the command interface, entering the codes that would change humanity's relationship with the galaxy forever. Across dozens of star systems, hidden bases received the signal and began powering up systems that had remained dormant for decades. Cloaking. Fields that had concealed entire worlds started shutting down. Defense platforms that had masqueraded as asteroids, extended weapons arrays and shield generators on the hidden world of New Haven. The colonists watched in awe as massive defense installations rose from beneath the planet's surface. Governor Lisa Chun had spent 30 years maintaining the illusion that her world was nothing more than a failed mining colony. Now she stood on the observation deck of her command center watching orbital weapons platforms emerge from concealment, like flowers blooming in fast motion. "All defensive systems are online," her military advisor reported. "The orbital ring is fully operational and our fighter squadrons are ready for deployment." Lisa nodded while reviewing the intelligence reports flooding in from across human space. Similar scenes were playing out on every hidden world as humanity prepared to face a galaxy that would soon see them as they truly were. In the Kepler system, Admiral Sam Cross watched his battle fleet decloak around a star that aliens believed was surrounded by nothing but empty space. 50 warships materialized as their cloaking systems shut down, each one armed with weapons that combined the best elements of collective and hegemony technology. Sam had commanded this fleet for 12 years, conducting training exercises in the deep void where no alien sensors could detect them. "Admiral, we're receiving Protocol Dawn confirmation from all vessels," his communications officer announced. "The fleet is ready for operations." Sam studied the tactical displays showing the positions of known alien installations throughout the region. For years, he had watched collective patrols pass within scanning range of his hidden fleet, never knowing they were being observed by human forces that could have destroyed them without difficulty. "Signal all ships to maintain defensive positions," Sam ordered. "We reveal ourselves, but we don't start a war unless they force our hand." The revelation continued across human space as installations that had hidden for centuries announced their presence to the galaxy. Mining stations revealed themselves as heavily fortified military bases. Research outposts activated defense systems that could challenge major alien fleets. Trade routes that appeared to serve primitive human colonies showed their true purpose. As supply lines for an advanced civilization, the alien powers reacted with shock and increasing alarm as their sensors detected human installations in regions they had considered secure. The Collective High Council convened an emergency session to discuss the implications of humanity's deception. Hegemony commanders studied intelligence reports that suggested humans possessed technology equal to their own. Smaller powers found themselves reconsidering their assumptions about the balance of galactic power. Admiral Thane received new orders within hours of Protocol Dawn's activation. His mission changed from routine patrol duty to leading a reconnaissance force tasked with assessing humanity's true military capabilities. The collective wanted to know exactly what they were dealing with before deciding how to respond. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the outer territories," Voss reported from his station. "Our estimates suggest the humans have been building installations for decades without our knowledge." Thane studied the incoming data with growing concern. The energy readings indicated orbital defense platforms, fleet bases, and manufacturing facilities on a scale that suggested systematic military buildup. This was not the work of a primitive civilization stumbling toward space travel. This was evidence of a coordinated strategy implemented over generations. "How many installations are we detecting?" Thane asked. "Conservative estimates suggest over 100 major facilities, Admiral. The actual number could be significantly higher." The implications sent a chill through Thane's exoskeleton. If humans had been building secretly for decades while studying alien technology and military tactics, they might represent a threat greater than any the collective had faced in centuries. Back at her command center, Alex watched the galaxy's reaction to humanity's revelation unfold in real time. Intelligence reports showed alien fleets mobilizing throughout known space, while diplomatic channels buzzed with urgent communications between the major powers. The secret was out, but the real test was just beginning. "General, we're receiving communication requests from 17 different alien governments," Ben reported. "They all want to know what our intentions are." Alex smiled grimly. After 3 centuries of hiding and watching, humanity was finally ready to answer that question. The Collective High Council met in emergency session aboard their mobile command station deep within the Andromeda sector. 12 of the most powerful military leaders in collective space gathered around a circular table that projected detailed, holographic displays of human installations throughout the galaxy. The atmosphere in the chamber crackled with tension and barely contained fear. "The evidence is undeniable," declared Supreme Commander Zara, her compound eyes reflecting the glow from the tactical displays. "Humanity has been systematically deceiving U.S. for centuries while building military capabilities that rival our own." The other council members studied the intelligence reports with growing alarm. Energy signatures from human installations matched or exceeded collective military standards. Intercepted communications suggested coordination between facilities across vast distances. Most disturbing of all, analysis of the captured human vessel's technology showed improvements on established collective and hegemony designs. "How long have they been watching us?" asked Fleet Admiral Koss, his mandibles clicking nervously. "How much do they know about our capabilities and weaknesses?" The question hung in the air like poison gas. If humans had been studying alien civilizations for decades while remaining hidden, they possessed intelligence advantages that could prove decisive in any conflict. They knew where alien bases were located, how alien weapons functioned, and what tactics alien forces employed. The aliens, meanwhile, knew almost nothing about human capabilities or intentions. "I propose immediate military action," Zara announced, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "We cannot allow this deception to continue. Humanity represents an existential threat to collective security." The vote was swift and unanimous. Within hours, the collective 3rd and 7th Fleets received orders to advance on known human positions and demand immediate surrender of all military installations. Any resistance would be met with overwhelming force designed to demonstrate the consequences of challenging established galactic order. Admiral Sam Cross received word of the collective advance while reviewing defensive preparations at his hidden fleet base. The aliens were moving faster than human analysts had predicted, bringing nearly 200 warships toward human space in what appeared to be a coordinated assault on multiple installations. "Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting collective formations approaching from 3 vectors," his tactical officer reported. "They'll reach our outer defense perimeter in 18 hours. Sam studied the enemy formations with professional interest. The collective was deploying classic overwhelming force tactics, designed to crush resistance through sheer numerical superiority. It was the same strategy they had used successfully against smaller civilizations for centuries. The problem was that humanity was not a smaller civilization, and Sam's forces had been preparing for this moment for decades. "Signal all human installations to implement defensive protocols," Sam ordered. "And send a message to the collective fleet commanders offering one opportunity to withdraw without bloodshed." The offer was rejected within minutes. Supreme Commander Zara herself responded with a demand for unconditional surrender and threats of complete annihilation if humanity continued to resist. Her message concluded with a declaration that humans would be forcibly relocated to supervised territories where they could no longer threaten galactic stability. Sam smiled grimly as he read the alien response. The collective still believed they were dealing with primitive humans who had somehow acquired advanced technology through theft or accident. They had no conception of what humanity had actually accomplished during their centuries of secret development. All ships to battle stations, Sam announced throughout his fleet. Today we show the galaxy what humans can do when we stop hiding. The first battle began in the Vega system, where a collective assault force encountered what they expected to be a lightly defended human research station. Instead, they found a heavily fortified military installation protected by orbital defense platforms that opened fire with weapons the aliens had never seen before, human plasma cannons. Improved from captured collective designs, punched through alien shields like paper. Projectile weapons firing solid metal slugs at relativistic speeds bypassed energy defenses entirely and shattered alien hulls. Most shocking of all, human ships demonstrated maneuverability and tactical coordination that suggested years of combat training and advanced automated systems. The collective task force that had expected easy victory found itself outgunned and outmaneuvered by defenders who seemed to anticipate every move. Within 2 hours, half the alien ships were destroyed or disabled, while human forces suffered minimal casualties. Similar scenes played out across a dozen star systems as collective fleets encountered human defenses that exceeded their worst estimates. Admiral Thane, leading one of the assault groups, watched his tactical displays with growing horror as ship after ship in his formation disappeared under withering human fire. "How are they targeting us so precisely?" he demanded of his tactical officer. "Our shields should be deflecting those plasma bursts." "Sir, analysis suggests they've modified the frequency harmonics of their weapons specifically to penetrate our defensive systems," came the shaken reply. "It's as if they know exactly how our shields function." The realization struck Thane like a physical blow. The humans did know exactly how collective shields functioned, because they had been studying captured alien technology for centuries, while the aliens ignored them as primitives. Every weakness in collective defenses had been cataloged and exploited. Every tactical doctrine had been analyzed and countered. "Signal retreat," Thane ordered, his pride warring with tactical necessity. "We need to regroup and reassess the situation." But retreat proved as dangerous as advance. Human forces that had remained hidden throughout the initial assault emerged, from concealment to attack withdrawing collective ships. Fighter squadrons launched from asteroid bases that had appeared empty on alien sensors. Weapons platforms disguised as space debris activated and began systematic destruction of fleeing vessels. The hegemony, watching the unfolding disaster from their core territories, attempted to position themselves as mediators in the growing conflict. Their diplomatic corps sent messages to both human and collective leadership offering to negotiate a peaceful resolution. The hegemony had no desire to see two major powers destroy each other when the resulting chaos might threaten their own stability. General Alex Rivera received the hegemony's offer at her command center while coordinating human defensive operations across 17 star systems. The hegemony's message was polite but contained subtle threats about the consequences of refusing their mediation services. "They're frightened," Alex observed to her staff. "They thought they understood the balance of power in the galaxy, and now they realize everything has changed." The hegemony's fear was justified. Intelligence reports showed human forces achieving victory ratios that defied conventional military analysis. A single human cruiser had disabled 3 collective destroyers in the Proxima engagement. Human fighters equipped with advanced jamming systems were rendering collective targeting computers useless. Most ominously, human ships were demonstrating the ability to operate in coordinated formations across multiple star systems simultaneously, suggesting communication and command capabilities beyond anything the major powers possessed. General, we're receiving surrender requests from collective forces in 6 different sectors, Colonel Ben Harris reported. They're requesting permission to withdraw to neutral space. Alex considered the implications. Complete destruction of collective forces would send a clear message about human capabilities, but it would also likely trigger intervention by other galactic powers who feared humanity's apparent superiority. Allowing some alien forces to survive and retreat would demonstrate restraint while still establishing human strength. Grant their requests, Alex decided, but make it clear that any future aggression will be met with total annihilation. As news of humanity's military victories spread throughout the galaxy, the other powers began reassessing their own positions. The humans had not only survived the collective's overwhelming assault, but had inflicted devastating casualties while suffering minimal losses themselves. More importantly, they had demonstrated technological and tactical capabilities that suggested decades of careful preparation and development. The galaxy's established order was crumbling, and everyone knew that humanity's emergence from the shadows was only the beginning of a much larger transformation. The question now was not whether humans could defend themselves, but what they intended to do with the power they had revealed. The answer would reshape galactic civilization in ways no one could yet imagine. 6 months after the first shots were fired in human space, representatives from 47 different civilizations gathered aboard the neutral station, Harmony Point, to witness something unprecedented in galactic history. The great powers that had controlled known space for millennia were about to formally acknowledge a new equal among them, and everyone understood that this moment would mark the end of one era and the beginning of another. Dr. Rachel Stone stood before the assembled delegates in the station's primary conference chamber, her simple blue diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial garments worn by the alien representatives. As humanity's chief diplomat, she had spent the last months conducting delicate negotiations with civilizations that still struggled to accept what humans had accomplished. Honored delegates, Rachel began, her words translated simultaneously into dozens of languages. We gather today not to celebrate conquest, but to establish a new foundation for peaceful coexistence among the stars. The audience listened in tense silence. Many of the alien representatives had witnessed the devastating effectiveness of human military forces during the recent conflict. The collective's attempted invasion had ended in complete failure, with their fleets either destroyed or forced to retreat in disorder. The hegemony's subsequent diplomatic overtures had been politely but firmly rejected until humanity was satisfied that they approached as equals rather than superiors offering conditional acceptance. Rachel continued her address, aware that every word would be analyzed by intelligence services throughout the galaxy. For 3 centuries, humanity remained hidden while we learned about our galactic neighbors. We studied your histories, your cultures, your technologies, and your conflicts. What we discovered was both inspiring and troubling. She paused to let her words sink in before continuing. We saw civilizations capable of magnificent achievements in science, art, and philosophy. We also saw endless cycles of warfare, subjugation, and exploitation. We realized that openly joining this galactic community would likely mean choosing sides in conflicts we did not create or accepting subordinate status to powers that viewed us as primitives. Admiral Thane, representing the collective delegation, shifted uncomfortably in his specialized seating. The human's words accurately described the reception that humanity would have received had they emerged openly centuries ago. The established powers routinely assign newly discovered civilizations to client status, extracting resources and obedience in exchange for protection and limited access to advanced technology. So we chose a different path, Rachel continued. We remained hidden while we grew strong. We built our own ships, developed our own weapons, and established our own colonies. We prepared ourselves to enter galactic society as equals rather than supplicants. The hegemony's senior delegate, Ambassador Krell, activated his translator to address the assembly. Dr. Stone, your civilization's deception has disrupted centuries of established order. How can we trust beings who spent so long lying about their capabilities? Rachel had expected this question and had prepared her response carefully. Ambassador Krell, we never lied about our capabilities. We simply chose not to reveal them until we were ready to defend ourselves. Your own intelligence services failed to discover our activities despite having centuries to do so. That failure says more about your assumptions than our deception. The response drew murmurs from throughout the chamber. Several smaller power representatives seemed amused by the diplomatic exchange, while the major powers' delegates appeared increasingly uncomfortable. Furthermore, Rachel continued, our recent conflict with the collective demonstrates exactly why our caution was justified. When faced with evidence of human advancement, their immediate response was military aggression designed to eliminate what they perceived as a threat. This reaction validates our decision to remain hidden until we possess the strength to resist such attacks. Supreme Commander Zara, attending the conference despite her role in ordering the failed invasion, spoke through her translator with barely controlled anger. Your forces deliberately targeted civilian installations and supply convoys. During the conflict, how do you justify such actions? Rachel's expression remained calm, but her voice carried steel. Commander, our forces targeted only military installations and vessels that were actively participating in your unprovoked invasion of human space. Every target was carefully selected to minimize civilian casualties while maximizing military impact. Your own tactical reports confirm that we could have inflicted far greater damage had we chosen to do so. The truth of this statement was evident to everyone present. Human forces had demonstrated remarkable precision during the conflict, destroying military targets while leaving civilian facilities untouched. Several times, human ships had broken off attacks when collective vessels attempted to use civilian installations as shields. The question before us today, Rachel continued, addressing the full assembly, is not whether humanity deserves a place among the galactic powers. Our military capabilities have already answered that question. The real question is what kind of galactic community we will build together moving forward. Rachel activated a holographic display that showed current territorial boundaries throughout known space. Human-controlled systems appeared in green, forming a substantial block that bisected traditional power spheres. The visual impact was striking, demonstrating that humanity now controlled resources and strategic positions that could not be ignored or dismissed. We propose a new model for galactic governance, Rachel announced. One based on mutual respect rather than hierarchical dominance. One that recognizes the sovereignty of all spacefaring civilizations regardless of their technological level or military strength. The proposal sent shock waves through the assembly. The established galactic order relied on major powers maintaining control over client states and tributary systems. Rachel's suggestion would fundamentally alter the balance of power that had existed for thousands of years. Ambassador Krell was the first to respond. Dr. Stone, the current system has maintained stability for millennia. What you propose could lead to chaos and conflict as every minor civilization demands equal status. With respect, Ambassador, the current system has maintained stability only for those powerful enough to enforce their will, Rachel replied. Our intelligence networks have documented over 200 conflicts in the past century alone, most of them resulting from the major powers' competition for resources and territory. She was right, and everyone knew it. The hegemony and collective had fought proxy wars throughout the galaxy while smaller powers struggled to maintain independence against constant pressure to choose sides. The established order was stable only in the sense that the same civilizations remained dominant, not because it prevented conflict or promoted justice. What guarantee can you offer that humanity will not use its newfound power to establish its own empire? Asked Delegate Vex, representing a coalition of smaller independent worlds. Rachel smiled, the first genuine expression of warmth she had shown during the conference. The best guarantee we can offer is our history. We had 3 centuries to establish an empire while remaining hidden. We could have conquered dozens of systems without anyone knowing until it was too late. Instead, we focused on building a sustainable civilization that could coexist peacefully with our neighbors. The truth of this statement was evident in the intelligence reports every delegation had studied before attending the conference. Human expansion had been methodical and defensive, establishing colonies in uninhabited systems rather than displacing existing populations. Even their military installations had been positioned to defend human space rather than threaten alien territories. Our proposal is simple, Rachel continued. We establish a new galactic assembly with equal representation for all sovereign civilizations. Disputes between members will be resolved through arbitration rather than warfare. Trade agreements will be negotiated fairly without coercion from major powers. Most importantly, no civilization will be forced to accept client status or tributary relationships. The implications of such a system were staggering. It would mean the end of the tribute payments that funded the major powers' expansion. It would eliminate the captive markets that provided guaranteed customers for their industries. Most fundamentally, it would require the hegemony and collective to treat smaller civilizations as equals rather than subjects. And if we refuse to participate in this new system? Supreme Commander Zara asked through her translator. Rachel's expression hardened slightly. Then you remain free to continue your current practices, but only within your existing territories. Humanity will protect any civilization that requests our assistance against aggression or coercion. The threat was politely phrased but unmistakable. Human military forces had proven capable of defeating the collective's best fleets. If they chose to actively oppose the traditional power structure, they could make it impossible for the major powers to maintain their client states through force. Admiral Sam Cross, attending the conference as part of the human delegation, spoke for the first time. We prefer cooperation to confrontation, but we will not stand by while stronger civilizations prey upon weaker ones. The galaxy has room for everyone to prosper without exploitation. His words carried weight because everyone present knew of his role in the recent conflict. Sam's tactical brilliance had been largely responsible for humanity's decisive victories against numerically superior forces. If he said human forces would intervene against aggression, that threat had to be taken seriously. The debate continued for hours as delegates grappled with the implications of Rachel's proposal. Some smaller civilizations immediately voiced support for a system that would guarantee their independence. Others worried about the practical challenges of implementing such dramatic changes. The major powers struggled to find alternatives that would preserve their advantages, while acknowledging humanity's new status. Finally, Ambassador Krell requested a private consultation with his delegation. Similar requests followed from other major power representatives. The conference recessed while the various factions considered their options. During the break, Rachel stood on the observation deck of Harmony Point, watching ships from dozens of civilizations maintain careful distances from each other in the surrounding space. Ben Harris joined her at the viewport, noting the defensive formations that even diplomatic vessels maintained out of long habit. Think they'll accept it? Ben asked quietly. They don't have much choice, Rachel replied. We've demonstrated that the old system can't suppress us through force. They can either adapt to the new reality or watch their influence continue to erode. When the conference reconvened 6 hours later, the mood had shifted noticeably. The major power delegates appeared resigned to accepting changes they could not prevent. One by one, they announced their civilization's willingness to participate in the new Galactic Assembly under the proposed framework. The collective delegation was the last to respond. Supreme Commander Zara spoke with obvious reluctance but clear acceptance of reality. The collective agrees to participate in this new system, provided that existing territorial boundaries are respected and that transition periods are established for current treaty obligations. Rachel nodded graciously. We accept those conditions. The goal is peaceful transition, not sudden disruption of established relationships. As the formal agreements were signed and sealed, everyone present understood that they were witnessing the birth of a new galactic order. The document that emerged from the conference would be known to history as the Harmony Accords, establishing principles of sovereignty and equality that would reshape interstellar civilization. But perhaps the most significant moment came during the closing ceremony, when Rachel made an announcement that surprised even her own delegation. Finally, I want to share something that demonstrates humanity's commitment to this new partnership. Our deep space exploration fleets have discovered evidence of at least 12 previously unknown civilizations in the far reaches of the galaxy. We will be sharing these coordinates with the Assembly so that first contact can be conducted according to our new principles of respect and equality. The revelation that humanity possessed exploration capabilities and knowledge that the established powers lacked drove home the reality of how dramatically the balance of galactic power had shifted. As delegates prepared to return to their home systems with news of the historic agreements, they carried with them the understanding that the galaxy would never be the same. In the months that followed, the changes began slowly but gathered momentum, like an avalanche. Client civilizations began asserting their independence, knowing they could appeal to humanity for protection against retaliation. Trade routes opened between previously isolated systems as the threat of major power interference diminished. Scientific and cultural exchanges flourished as barriers to communication were removed. The galaxy that had been controlled by a few dominant civilizations for millennia was becoming a community of equals, and humanity had emerged from the shadows to make it possible. The secret they had guarded for 3 centuries had not just protected them from subjugation, it had given them the strength to transform galactic civilization itself. As Rachel had said in her closing address to the Assembly, humanity had risen in secret until the moment came to speak among the stars as equals. Now that moment had arrived, and the future belonged to all who were willing to embrace it.